Hey guys, what's up? Steve here, and welcome to another episode of Films Unseen, the series in which we discuss films that, although they deserve some merit, for some reason or another, were not very well known amongst audiences. In each episode, we'll mention one film, why it deserves some merit, and reasons why I think it might not have received as much attention as it deserved. Now, the subject of today's video is one that I was debating for a while whether or not I wanted to include in an episode of Films Unseen, because compared to the other two films in the last two episodes that we've had of this series, it is a little bit more known, particularly because it's a more recent film. It came out in 2017. It was released by A24, got a lot of good responses from critics. The film I'm talking about today is the film Good Time, directed by the Safdie brothers, and starring Robert Pattinson, Benny Safdie, and Jason Leigh, and a bunch of other people who you probably have never heard of. Except for Barkhad Abdi, who has a very small role as a security guard in the film. If you don't know who that is by name, he's the guy who played the main pirate in Captain Phillips, and no, he never says, "I'm the captain now" in this film. Good Time follows the character of Connie Nikas, played by Robert Pattinson, who tries to arrange a bank robbery with his mentally handicapped brother, Nicholas Nikas, played very well by Benny Safdie. The robbery doesn't go as planned, and Nick ends up getting arrested, and through the course of one wild, hellish night, Connie tries to do whatever he can to get his brother free. Now, the plotline that I just described to you, you're probably thinking, I've seen tons of movies like this before. Trust me, you probably haven't seen a lot of movies like Good Time. While it's definitely not the most original film in the world, this treats its subject, even though it's kind of a plain subject, with a lot of originality, and I was impressed by what I saw on screen. With this film, the Safdie brothers have proven themselves to be very good directors, for a lot of different reasons. Number one, except for a few of the actors, and I'll get to the acting in a minute, they're dealing with a lot of people who have not really been in front of the camera that much before, or who have never been in front of the camera before. And they're taking more roles than just director on the film. They're not only the directors of the film. Benny Safdie, one of the co-directors, plays the mentally handicapped brother, and he does a really good job. With the exception of one other performance in the film that I will get to in a minute, this is probably one of the most underrated performances of the year. And if I'm remembering correctly, he also served as a sound tech on the film, and he also served as the main editor for the film. And honestly, those are all things that really help the film. Not just that he did it, but how well they're done. One thing that I have to say about the film is that it's very cool to look at. This film has really good cinematography, and they do a lot of inventive things with the color palette. And I also have to give a lot of credit to how they paced the film, because considering that the film is about a guy trying to get his brother free from a jail, and his brother is mentally handicapped and anything could happen to him at any time because of that, the way the film is edited together and the way it's shot and the music choices that they make for the film, which are amazing all across the board, the film really succeeds in creating a real sense of urgency. And while there are a couple of choices that the main character makes in the film that I can't even say are understandable, because some of the things this guy does are kind of sick. But again, this is not a character you're really supposed to totally root for. You know what he's doing is wrong, but you can kind of feel a little bit of empathy for him because he knows what he's doing is wrong, or rather, he's thinking of his brother, but he's not really thinking about what is good for his brother. He thinks he knows what's good for his brother, but he really doesn't. And now I want to talk about the other performance in the film that I believe is one of the most underrated performances of 2017. A lot of people are probably going to be shaking their heads at me for saying this, and honestly, before I saw the film, I would have thought that I would be shaking my head at this, but I really have to give credit to Robert Pattinson. Everybody knows Robert Pattinson from the Twilight Saga, and that's what I knew him from. And like a bunch of other people, and I'm not just doing this to jump on a bandwagon, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna say it up front, I absolutely hated the Twilight films. I have a family member who claimed, "Steve, you just really don't like the movie because it's a love story, don't you?" No, it's not that it's a love story. I actually like love stories when they're done well. It's not because it's a love story, it's because it's a really terrible love story. Now, Robert Pattinson played Edward in the Twilight series, and if I'm not mistaken, he's actually expressed some dislike for the series himself, and I don't blame him. He was one of the actors in the cast who I thought, give him some time, wait until he actually takes on a role with a little bit of meat to it, and let's see what he does. And I really didn't pay attention to Robert Pattinson a lot because after Twilight, he did some stuff, but he didn't really do anything huge. And then I found out about Good Time, and I found out that he was playing the lead role, the role of Connie. And I kept hearing all these rave reviews about his performance in the film and how there was some Oscar buzz behind him. Now, obviously he didn't get nominated. After watching the film, he's a really talented actor. Robert Pattinson does a very good job of playing a very desperate person. Somebody frantically trying to get something done that he feels like he needs to get done, no matter what it means. And he's the type of guy who comes up with a plan, it goes south, and he's frantically scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, what do I do to remedy this? And throughout the film, it just feels like everything's going wrong so much. He's gonna blow. You get this sense that there's this searing, ticking time bomb in this guy. And Robert Pattinson portrays this beautifully. He did an amazing job in this performance. I would say now, granted, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of his work because, Twilight kind of steered me away from it. But I am looking forward to seeing what he does next. He was amazing in this film. Now, as for reasons why the film didn't get a lot of attention, like I said before, it got more attention than the other films in this series did, but this one still didn't get a huge amount of attention, and I think it didn't get as much attention as it deserved. I don't really know if there's a really good reason why. I mean, it was released by A24, and A24 is notorious for not putting a lot of their films into wide release. Now, the film didn't have a very high budget. It didn't really have a huge marketing budget, I'm assuming. And honestly, I think that after the Twilight saga, a lot of people are not going to want to see a film with Robert Pattinson in the lead. Because honestly, I was skeptical about seeing it because of that. And I'll admit, it was a foolish thought to think that I shouldn't see a film because Robert Pattinson is in it, but I could see a lot of people having that mindset. And I honestly have to say, 2017 was a really good year for movies in general, so I'm not too surprised that Good Time was overshadowed by a lot of the really great stuff that came out. But it's not enough to ignore the film. Good Time is one of the most unexpectedly fantastic films I've seen in a while. Now, like I said before, there's some stuff in the film that even made me go, just because of the subject matter. But if you want to see a unique and stylish film that isn't style over substance, with some really terrific performances, go ahead and check out Good Time. I'm gonna go ahead and make the pun. You'll have a good time. Alright guys, that's it for today's episode of Films Unseen. If you didn't already hear, I launched a Twitter page recently. If you'd like to, you can follow me at FilmFanSteve. And also, if you like this video, and if you want to see more stuff from me, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Alright guys, that's it for today, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and have a good night.